The players, if I'm going to be like frank and honest and transparent, we're not worried. All the power is in our hands. We have never had a moment like this where there's been so much momentum, where there's been so much investment demand of our sports. I'm just kind of like upset, frustrated, all of us. And in a lot of ways, just like disgusted with the W and how they're handling this and their lack of value, their lack of worth for us, their lack of even trying to attempt.
That's Natasha Cloud. And if her name isn't instantly recognizable to casual fans, that actually proves the larger point. Right now, she's positioning herself as a leading voice for WNBA players during what could become the most significant contract negotiation in league history. Her message is bold and direct. The players hold the power, and the league cannot function without them. It's a declaration of leverage at a pivotal moment. But there's an underlying tension in that claim, because while players are undeniably essential to the product, the financial ecosystem of professional sports is far more complex. Broadcast deals, sponsorships, star power, and fan engagement all shape the balance of power. And if that balance shifts unexpectedly, the assumption that all leverage sits on one side could be tested in dramatic fashion.
WNBA players are really good at talking tough. WNBA players are really good at manipulating the feminine beard chasers in the mainstream media. But Uncle KC sees through their false bravado. Uncle KC can see the fear in their eyes. He can sense the anguish behind the unbelievable levels of bass in their voice. WNBA players know that time.
Notice the language being used. Disgusted, frustrated, even claims that the revenue percentages would make players furious. It sounds like a rallying cry from athletes who believe they're finally in the driver's seat. After nearly 3 decades of financial backing from the NBA and years of operating at a loss, many WNBA players see this moment, on the brink of a new season, with expansion teams preparing to launch and major logistical deadlines approaching, as their window to push for a stronger collective bargaining agreement. The league is reportedly just months away from tip-off, with expansion drafts to organize and training camps to schedule. Yet there is uncertainty surrounding the labor deal. The rhetoric is bold, but the real question lies beneath it. How much leverage does each side truly hold when the financial structure, media partnerships, and long-term sustainability of the league are all part of the equation?
Are missing the one thing that you need when negotiating increases in salary: leverage. With any negotiation, whether it's business, divorce, child support, in most cases, the winner is the one who has the most leverage. When I was in college, and once I graduated from college, I worked at a company called Fastenal. It's a major corporation, Fortune 500 company. If you're interested.
Critics of the players' stance argue that this negotiation may not be as evenly balanced as the rhetoric suggests. From that perspective, the WNBA has historically operated at a financial loss, with the NBA and its ownership groups providing long-term backing and stability. That means league leadership arguably has deeper financial reserves, more flexibility, and greater capacity to absorb short-term disruption than individual players do. The average WNBA salary, often cited around the low 6-figure range, represents solid professional income. But for many athletes, it may not provide the kind of long-term security needed to comfortably withstand a prolonged work stoppage. Those who question the players' leverage believe ownership understands this reality and may calculate that time is on their side. Whether that assessment is accurate or not, it highlights the central tension in the negotiations: bold public messaging versus the practical financial pressures facing both sides.
25 years old, I asked my district manager for a raise. I was coming off my best year as an outside salesman. I was one of the top earners in the region, and I thought I was entitled to a raise. Conversation lasted about 5 minutes. He said, "If you want a raise, sell more of our overpriced nuts." Naturally, I was pissed off. I'm ashamed to say this, but at 24, 25 years old, I had the same entitlement that is.
From a hardline business perspective, some analysts argue that professional sports leagues often hold structural leverage because there is a constant pipeline of new talent. Every year, a fresh class of college athletes enters the draft, many eager for an opportunity at the professional level under the existing salary framework. That dynamic can weaken the bargaining position of mid-tier players who believe they are indispensable. In that view, while a few transformative stars may significantly impact ratings and revenue, most roster spots are, in purely economic terms, replaceable. Leagues historically rely on this steady influx of talent to maintain continuity during labor disputes. Whether that assessment fully captures the unique momentum and visibility the WNBA is currently experiencing is debatable, but it underscores the broader reality that negotiations are shaped not just by performance on the court, but by supply, demand, and the economics of opportunity.
Headline at SB Nation: time is running out to get a WNBA deal done. Yeah, no shit. The season is supposed to start here in about 90 days. With 2 new dumps opening for operation, they've got to organize an expansion draft, still need to schedule the regular draft, training camp, preseason. There's a lot that needs to get done and not a lot of time to do it. Yesterday,
Some observers say the recent celebrations over improved housing benefits highlight the gap between symbolism and substance in these negotiations. Reports that the league agreed to provide rookies with 1-bedroom apartments and developmental players with studio units were framed by some players as progress. Critics, however, argue that housing support, while meaningful for quality of life, does not address the larger financial demands around salary structure and revenue sharing. They contend that the core dispute centers on whether compensation should rise in proportion to the league's growth trajectory and star visibility. Skeptics also point to attendance figures and revenue metrics, arguing that sustained sellouts and consistently strong gate numbers are key components of leverage in any sports labor negotiation. From that viewpoint, ownership can afford to concede on lower-cost benefits like housing while remaining firm on salary percentages, especially if they believe they have alternative options and long-term financial backing. Whether that strategy proves effective depends on how much the league's recent surge in attention translates into durable, measurable revenue growth.
Unrivaled as leverage in negotiations. Who cares if the season is canceled? We are swindling TNT out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're still eating. The problem with using unrivaled as leverage, it only works if unrivaled is thriving. Hell, they don't even need to be thriving. If unrivaled was drawing a few fleas instead of fully grown flies, the WNBA might believe that this turd is a real threat. But there's not even enough steam on this turd to attract.
Some critics argue that pointing to alternative ventures like the 3-on-3 league Unrivaled as bargaining leverage may not be as strong a strategy as it appears. They note that early television ratings reportedly declined after launch, raising questions about long-term audience sustainability. From that perspective, launching a new league without broad, consistent mainstream viewership, especially without participation from the sport's biggest crossover stars, makes it difficult to position the venture as a true financial counterweight to the WNBA. Skeptics suggest that if broadcast numbers remain modest, network partners and investors may eventually reassess their commitment, weakening its value as negotiating leverage. However, others would argue that alternative leagues are less about immediate ratings dominance and more about long-term player empowerment, ownership stakes, and diversified income streams. Even if viewership starts small, these ventures can provide athletes with equity opportunities and negotiating influence beyond traditional salary structures. Ultimately, whether Unrivaled strengthens or weakens the player's position depends on its financial durability, investor backing, and ability to grow an audience over time, not just short-term rating snapshots.
Pure speculation on my part, but just think about it. Adam Silver controls everything in the NBA, which owns a majority stake in the WNBA. He is receiving pressure from NBA owners to make the WNBA profitable. They're finally on the brink of profitability. They are finally on the verge of achieving the unachievable. Adam Silver is on the verge of accomplishing something that David Stern could never accomplish. His legacy would be cemented if he could find a way to monetize pretend basketball. Right when it's about to happen, the disease of entitlement is magnified. Unknown WNBA players are deluded into thinking that they are the reason for this sudden surge in popularity. It's not the white girl. People are paying to see us break records by scoring 60 points in 60 quarters. Right before the CBA is set to expire, all of a sudden, a new league emerges, promising to pay players significantly more than they're worth. What a coincidence! But in order for the secondary dump to succeed, they need the services of the WNBA's only star. You really think Adam Silver is letting that happen? You really think Adam Silver is loaning his only star to a rival league?
A key question that often goes unasked in these discussions is why Caitlin Clark isn't participating in Unrivaled, especially given that she is contractually able to play overseas or in other domestic leagues and has done so before. The money on offer would likely be substantial, yet she has passed. Many observers suggest the explanation is strategic. The NBA, and specifically Adam Silver, likely didn't want her there. After nearly 3 decades of subsidizing and promoting the WNBA, the league is finally approaching profitability, and Clark is the player driving that shift. Her presence draws fans, boosts ratings, and moves merchandise. Loaning her to a rival league during a pivotal labor negotiation could risk legitimizing Unrivaled as leverage for other players, which would undercut the NBA's control over the WNBA ecosystem. The NBA ultimately dictates schedules, television deals, and promotional focus, and history shows how quickly a player can fade from relevance without that support. Clark appears to recognize this reality. By staying out of Unrivaled, she protects the league that provides long-term financial stability. Unlike some of her colleagues, she seems to understand the value of not biting the hand that feeds you.